All right, I have returned. So, this should be enough, right? So that if we run the game, and yeah, we run the game. I think what we did was we made it so that the game would save out after we left the level. Which I think means we actually have to beat the level. All right, we have to defeat the slime. Okay, so slime died. Dialogic saved to slot default. So in the file system, let's see, where does it save the user save? I read something about that in the docs at one point. Saving and reading data, file system tutorial, user path. This path resolves differently depending on the OS. Local path resolution is further explained in file paths in Godot projects. Was it here? There was something that was noting that there's a different behavior when you are running the game. Yeah. Without having exported the project. By default, the user folder is created within Godot's editor data path in the app user data project folder. So, editor data path? So, in my app data, because I'm still on Windows, I might have some time today to work on the Linux project again. Alright, so here's the folder. I can't tell. There it is. Okay, so app user data, and we are in platformer. So here's save game.save. Open that with none of those things. Open with, there we go. Yeah. I should have just called it .json. But I didn't do that. Yeah, sure. All right, so has sort true, position, power state. Okay, so it worked. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to game manager. We're gonna change this to be JSON. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna rename this so we don't break things. JSON. Yep. And there's the dialogic saves too, right? Saves, defaults, thumbnail, I guess, of the save, right? And then state. Have some stuff in it. That's cool. When do we want to load the state? I guess potentially we just want to load the state when we hit new game. That seems safe. Here, new game is essentially new or resume, right? We're not having separate things. There's no way currently in this project to be like, oh, I want to throw away what I played so far, or what I've done so far, and reset. Maybe we can do that next. Because I think we have one or two more things to do on this game before we move on. So maybe we can do that next, and then that'll be saving complete once we can load. So in the game manager, we're gonna have a func load game. I think one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let's see. How do we do a const? Is it const? Save file. Yeah, there you go. All right. There we go. Let's not repeat ourselves. Can I call non-static function parse on the class JSON directly? Sure. How did they do it? Let's go back to here. I see. So yeah, they did creates the helper class interact with JSON. Okay, I'm not sure. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. And then, okay, if save file get us text. So player data error is okay. Oh, I see. So JSON.parse returns. Okay. Let's actually look at this. JSON.parse, JSON string, parse result. If not okay, otherwise. JSON.data. Oh, I see. Okay. Let's do this. I'm just gonna copy what's here. Okay, stop it. If not, parse result equals okay, and then we are going to return. Yeah, we're gonna bail out. Go. Yeah, cool. I think I'm gonna make a utility function here. Get player. There we go. And then call that. There we go. Okay. So if there's a save file, we attempt to read it, parse it. We are essentially saying there's just going to be one line in the JSON that we are reading. Here's a thought. Oh, I closed the thing. Can we go back to that file? File manager. Godot. Yeah, there it was. App user data. Our project here. Save game.json. Open with VS Code. Yeah, it is one line. Okay. I was like, I think I got confused thinking of like how we expressed it. Yeah. In my mind, I was thinking of this. But yeah, it is on one line. Okay. So, but we're essentially going to say there's just going to be one line. It's just the player data. That's it. So if we were doing other things, we would have to probably have a different structure. Maybe it could still be JSON, but we might like have like a key. I think there's different ways of organizing it, right? So like in their example here, it makes sense to have like one line for each node because they're essentially instantiating nodes and like it's fully like rehydrating things based on the data. Whereas in this case, by the time we get to load, actually here, when we get to load, are the things going to be there? Is a question, but we'll come back to that. So we get this data, and what we want to do is we want to say, yeah, player node if player node, then we want to, we don't want to do any of that. We want to deserialize node data, which I guess really means we don't want to do, yeah, this feels not right, because this is relying on doing the JSON serialization here. Yeah, that's a good point. Oops. Right, so let's change this. This is going to return a dictionary. So serialize will mean we're going to make it into a dictionary that represents the data that we need to persist, right? And then deserialize takes a dictionary and what does update power visuals do? Is it something we need to, yeah, we need to like reset things based on what the power state is. I don't think we need to change the vulnerability state. Okay, so cool. So then this just needs to be consistent, right? Position, power state has sword, and it's just setting the properties of the node. Okay. So then we change this to say, yeah, we need to, JSON stringify the data, right? So we need to own the whatever serialization format that we're saving as. Serialize here is more, not quite as far as getting it to the bytes that we're going to write on disk. Cool. And then so this is the opposite. And then the other thing we want to do is we want to say dialogic.save.load to load the dialogic state. And then what? And then we need somewhere where we're going to call load game, right? So on game over, we're calling save game. We can't necessarily call load game on ready here, or yeah, load game on ready, because the level container won't be connected. It's not in the scene tree yet, and so we won't be able to find the player. Which is interesting. That has interesting implications of like, essentially the way that I've set this up, really the only place we could call load game would be here when we enter the level. That has problems. Essentially, if the world map is just like if there's nothing to persist from the world map, then I guess that's fine. But you would imagine that there would be things that is like, oh, I completed this level. There might be state on the world map that we would want to be able to save and load. Think about that. setup game do? Oh, right. It does this. Which is interesting because that emits that game reset signal that is received by the player. That's interesting. I mean, that's a possibility, right? Of like, oh yeah. So this is a separate thing that we haven't solved yet. We probably need to put something on the level that indicates what the starting position is for the player, and then when we enter the level, we set this somehow. So that's kind of a to-do. That doesn't really help us with this, getting this data into the player, right? So to find the player, how do we do that? One thing that we could do instead of finding the node and calling deserialize on it, we could essentially provide a signal to load player state. This really only works because it's like we only have these two things to save and load, right? But the issue is like we don't have a good way of connecting from where we want to handle the load of data to where the data needs to go, because we have this indirection. Setup game only called, yeah, it's called there. It goes there and emits game reset. Interesting. But we call it from here. It seems I guess that's fine, except it's not. Like, this feels like that needs to be something that happens when we enter the level. Right, so when we're in the level container and we load the level, do we call game manager to set up game? Or do we call it from here? We aren't already calling anything to on game manager from here, so it feels kind of like maybe not the right move. This seems better than wherever it was before down here, right? Because on game menu start game actually gets us to the world map instead of to a level at this point. Yeah, so I think one of the things that would still be outstanding is the menu itself, and like there probably needs to be different menu options. It doesn't, at least right now, it doesn't make sense to restart on the world map, but that's where we land, right? New game. We have a restart option, but that doesn't do anything here. It probably shouldn't be there. But yeah, so that would be like a polish thing that we could come back to if we were like going to work on this in the long term. But in the short term, where do we call load game and how does it find the player? Do I want to just use a signal? What's the alternative? So in main, we have a level container. And we do instantiate the level container scene. So it exists as soon as like the main, like once the game loads, there is a player. The issue is that it's not in the scene tree. And so it can't be found. I think this is maybe not the right thing to do, but the easy thing to do is player load. And we have it's a player data dictionary, right? And then what we do is in here, we don't get the player node. We just simply say, yeah, player load dot emit no data. So wherever the player is, it can listen for that signal and load itself. It can deserialize the data. You know, we can get rid of a variable here. There we go. Okay, so yeah, and then in player, in ready, which ready really should be, yeah. So we can just hook that directly to deserialize, and that works. And I think then I made the comment. Let's just move ready to the top of this file because it's hard to find otherwise. We'll put it right here. There we go. Cool. So, what does it do? What have we done? New game. Okay, we end up here. That's fine. We enter into the level. We appear in the level. We only save when we beat the level right now, so we have to get the sword. And we'll beat the level. Okay. If I end the game, quit, start a new game, what I'm expecting is that when I go into this level, I think my location will be the spawn spot, but I should have the sword, and I don't. So that didn't work. Do I still have this folder? Yes. So what's in save game? Open. Has sword true. And there's a position, and there's a power state. Okay. So why player load connect deserialize? Oh right, because I didn't add anything to call load game. Still all right, so when we start the game, game manager.load game, which is what I wanted to do. All right, so now when I start, I should have the sword. I do not. I do not have the sword. Okay, let's add some prints here. Save file, read, JSON new, if save file. We didn't see anything. Oh, there's some output. That's weird. Can I get class global scope? What errors here? Any relevant errors? Error calling from signal game reset to callable. Oh, right. So we meant the signal and game reset. We should fix this. Yeah, let's just break things. There we go. Okay, so that should make it happy. That was a temporary fix where we're getting this new position. So now we won't. This is gonna break things probably, but we'll figure out how to get the right position into the player. I guess if nothing else, does deserialize? It does read the position. So I guess what should happen here is the position of the player should be set to wherever they were the last time they were in the level. A nuance here is that this would be a problem if we had multiple levels, because it's going to save the position in the last level it was in. I think we're just not going to persist position, since that's kind of broken anyway. And what's really nice is having these two functions together like this means that I can just I can make both sides of the update in one spot. What else? Well, I wanted to let's make a print statement here, just for debugging purposes, and run the game. So what I'm expecting is that when we hit new game, well, when we hit new game, we should have loaded the player data, right? Because we hooked up to the signal from game manager, player load, which gets emitted from load game. But we didn't see either of these things. So in main, game manager load game. Game manager load game. Let's add a print. Sure. And let's reload. New game. Okay, so we got a print loading game. The issue is that I would expect that there would also be loads all info from the given slot in the dialogic game handler. If no slot is given, the default slot is used. I guess this could fail if there's no default slot. Let's do that. Let's just add a little bit more printing. I feel like, you know, surely we're getting there, but maybe something isn't working right. Yeah, there we go. So loading dialogic save did happen. I guess dialogic is not printing anything for the saving. But let's think about the order the things are happening in. So when we get here, like before we're here, we've already instantiated the level container scene. Okay, when is ready called? Called when a node is ready, i.e. when both the node and its children have entered the scene tree. In other words, it's called the first time it's added to the scene tree, but for even earlier initialization, a init may be used. So where? I think we might need that here. Init. Right? So because the issue is that this is not going to enter the scene tree for a while. Also, that's the wrong signal. That's not the signal I care about. I care about this signal. There we go. So save that. And let's try that. New game. Yay, it's broken. Let's see here. So we have a call stack. Let's make some space here. Okay, so call load game, which calls deserialize, which calls set power state, which calls update power visuals, which that seemed like a good idea at the time. Update power visuals reads things that may not be ready yet. So I don't think we can do this. We're gonna have to rely on that happening later. So another thing we need to make sure to do is not to overwrite these values in ready, which I don't think we do. Because ready will happen after this, right? We call update power visuals, and we're just like connecting signals. So that should be fine. Should be fine. Let's restart, and maybe this will actually work, and we will have a stored when we enter the level. Nope. I could have sworn, didn't I? The set power state. It automatically. Okay, so where do we call this? We call it there. Call it there. Call it. Do I want to remove update power visual from this? Do I want to call? Do I want to use set power state? I don't think I do, actually. I think I just want to set power state. Hahaha. Instead of setting power state, I want to set power state. Right. There we go. Oops. That was fun. I managed to click the other button for the key bindings and then new. Something I would probably want to fix if this was long for the world. Deserializing player. Okay, so we have data. And we can see that we're actually exercising that code. And when we land here, yeah, we have a sword. The other question is, if I go over here and talk to the NPC, you already have the sword. All right, great. So we have successfully restored the state of the game. The enemy respawns, and that could be a choice. Like, if we wanted to make it so that all the entities had persistence, we would probably consider doing something more like what the documentation had, where it's like using the persistence group and doing all that sort of stuff. It's challenging. Like, we would probably need, I think ultimately what might be easier is having multiple layers of loading of data, right? So Like we would have one thing where when the world map loads, we're like, oh, here is the save that we're supposed to be loading from. Load all the things for here. And then when we go into a level, read the data for the level. Effectively, we've only done the first thing, although you don't see it here. The dialogic stuff and the player state are stuff that are not level specific. So if I guess we would want to, if we wanted to like persist the enemies going away, when we leave and re-enter the level, we would need like another layer of loading. Like, yeah. So anyway, so this is fine. Well, let's go back to our map of things to do. I am going to say for now, until we get to a more complex game that we're going to spend more time on, that is saving persistence. It works. I think I want to spend a little time working on shaders. So that will be next Sunday's stream. Because I don't think we're gonna get very far today. We can what are we at? We can spend a couple of minutes. Just kind of exploring what this would look like, right? So I think for what I'm imagining, let's say for what I'm imagining here, we have a level, and this would be like level specific things, right? So here we have a sun. A cool thing that would be nice to add would be like, we could have time of day and the sun would move and the clouds would move. You know, we already have parallax where, you know, but we could go further if we wanted to. But it would be cool to have like some kind of lens flare coming off the sun that would vary as we move. I guess honestly the easiest thing to do would be to add another parallax layer to our backgrounds with that. But I did want to kind of play around with the idea of a shader. So how would we do that? I guess we could probably just take the background. It has a slot for a material. We could create a new shader material. We would save this out as wait, what is this background material? Pause. Spread 2D. Oh, I think that's that material is for the intro screen. It's the other shader that we put together a while ago, where we just downloaded a shader and used it and just tweaked it slightly. What I want to do as a last thing for this project, before we move on, is make our own shader and like actually do that on stream. So let me go back to this. We're going to save this as, this is going to be lens flare shader material. Okay. And then we create a shader. So we can create a shader or a visual shader. So the visual shaders, I did see a little bit of this. So we have like a visual node editor. I guess the question is, what could we make a lens flare just using a visual shader? And what's the folder inside of it? I think there is a shader. Oh, I can't open this from here. Let's go in shaders. And we will do that. So then we go to the shader editor. Maybe. Yes, if I click on that, there we go. And we have an output. We can add nodes. right? So we can add like a interesting. Lots of things. What's all in here? So we have different. We have many things, I think is the answer. Various functions and operators, variables, conditionals, inputs, UV input parameter for all shader modes, translated to UV and Godot shading language. So we have, yeah. What does this look like? Amazing. Yeah, mode canvas item. Mode blend mix. We can see the generated shader code. So this could be interesting to play around with, like doing this rather than writing the code. I don't know. What I'm curious about is like, okay, so we have all this stuff. Is this a matter of like, if we hide everything else? Where's the background? I think, is the background color just our project backgrounds? Yeah, I think so. I wonder if, to do what I want to do, I need to remove this material, and we're going to create a new node, or I guess a node 2D. Is that even necessary versus like, well, canvas item is abstract. Oh, like why am I seeing script? Okay, yeah. So anyway, if we go back to level 1, here we go. And let's add a node, and it's going to be a node 2D, and this is going to be lens flare. And then we just add this material to it. What does it do? Visibility and ordering. Z as relative. Yeah. Use parent material. Interesting. How do you... Oh, right. So the issue here is that the size of the node. Right? Transform. No, is this just the wrong node? I think this is the wrong node type for this. Let's see. So first of all, let me undo that scale. And we want to change type. Remove that filter. Is it canvas? A node that applies a color tint to a canvas. So all nodes on canvas, only one can be used to tint a canvas, but canvas layers can be used to render things independently. So maybe a canvas layer? canvas layer. A node used for independent rendering of objects within a 2D scene. Canvas item derived nodes that are direct or indirect children of a canvas layer will be drawn in that layer. Yeah, I don't know. So if we change this, how do we make this visible? Follow viewport. Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna figure this out. Just put it at the bottom. Don't know. I really don't. That's there. No. No. Where in the world is this node? Interesting. Okay, well, I think I have a lot to learn. And it'll give me something to look into more between the stream and the next. So let's go find someone to raid. I think it's about time for lunch for me anyway. So we will stop for today. And let's make sure to commit everything and push it up to the GitHub. Yeah, just ignore the lens flare stuff. In fact, let me... Yeah, that's fine. Don't include those files in this. Right, that's only changed this file, so drop that out of there as well. And commit that. And the lens flare stuff, I'll just leave as is. That'll remind me where we left off. So, thanks so much for coming to the stream today, hanging out, and asking questions, and all that stuff.